Broadway Beat. Broadway. Broadway Beat. Broadway Beat. Broadway Beat. Broadway. Listen to the Broadway Beat. Broadway makes you want to move your feet. Everybody's tapping into everything that's happening on Broadway Beat. Broadway Beat. Broadway Beat. Broadway Beat.
Hello, I'm Richard Ridge, and welcome to Broadway Beat, where we bring you the very best of what the New York theater scene has to offer. This week we bring you highlights from the one-night-only Defying Inequality benefit, which was hosted by the company of Wicked at their home, the Gershwin Theater. The evening featured the likes of everyone from Jane Fonda to Cyndi Lauper. We'll also chat with Academy Award winners Geoffrey Rush and Susan Sarandon, who along with Lauren Ambrose and Tony Award winner Andrea Martin are getting ready to open in the new Broadway production of Eugene Ionesco's comedy Exit the King at the Ethel Barrymore Theater. But let's start things off at a rehearsal for the White Plains Performing Arts Center's new production of the Stephen Sondheim and Hugh Wheeler musical, A Little Night Music, which will play a limited engagement from March 5th through the 22nd. It stars Penny Fuller, Mark Jacoby, and Sheila Smith. For tickets and information, visit www.wppac.com.
Unpack the luggage, la la la. Pack up the luggage, la la la. Unpack the luggage, la la la. Hi-ho, the glamorous life. Unpack the luggage, la la la. La 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 la. Unpack the luggage, la la la. Hi-ho, the glamorous life.
It's a show that is so beautiful in the fact that it's all in waltz time and it's neglected. It is really one of Broadway's neglected masterpieces, I think. It's been done, of course, at City Opera and at several other places, but not this close to the city. We're only 30 minutes away. We're as close as Brooklyn. You can go to BAM, you can come to the White Plains Performing Arts Center. So we thought we could do some of these shows that haven't had the attention paid to them and really do them well and concentrate on the book and the lyrics and the beautiful music. So we're hiring fantastic singers, as you can see that we have today.
It's incredibly atmospheric, and what I'm learning, particularly in this process, is it's much funnier than I realized when I first saw it. I mean, it's really, there's some wonderful comedic moments, which balances so nicely with the overall romance, which of course is quintessential to the piece. But it's mysterious in our culture. It's a different time, it's a different place, it's a different world, and some of the values are a little hard for a contemporary American mind to grasp. So that's the challenge, is bringing to it that sense of a century ago and another culture.
Well, you know what? Honestly, in college, I hated this musical. I didn't understand it, and now that I'm 40, I get the whole thing. I'm trying to emulate Mark Kudish. I mean, come on, it's Mark, No, I was thrilled when they gave me a call to ask me to be a part of this. I love the buffoonery of it all, and try to make him a likable character somehow, not just such a hateful character. And also, you know what? This is a timeless piece. This is a very timeless piece, and also it's not dated at all. We realized just the other day, we were listening to music. When was this written? It could have been written yesterday. It could have been written, 30 years ago, whatever. But it's a fantastic piece. I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Well, it is a company of wonderful performers, Broadway caliber. I mean, that seems to be what White Plains is about. But in particular, the show has, Penny Fuller, Mark Jacoby, Rachel DeBenedette, Stephen Buntrock. I hope I'm not leaving anybody out. Sheila Smith. Oh my God! I mean, to work with somebody like that who has really been down the road of Broadway. She was in the original Follies. She stood by for and performed as Mame and Vera Charles in the original Mame. I mean, I'm in hog heaven with this company. They sing gloriously. They know exactly what to do before I get a chance to say, well, I just kind of get out of their way for the most part.
It's going to be a very small chamber orchestra. I'm, condensing Jonathan Tunick's orchestration, keeping as much of the integrity as I can for a small chamber band of piano and harp and 2 wind doublers and cello and French horn. So, and a lot of the wind writing plays very heavily into the score. So I'm maintaining as much of that as I can and filling in, where possible with the remaining strings and cello and horn and so forth. So the outline and sort of blueprint of the orchestration, it will be there, just in a more chamber music version, if you will.
I love that you're doing this together. Do you choreograph together a lot?
We do, which is sort of rare. We're a choreographic team. We always say that we do our best work together. For a piece like this, where there is so much waltzing and so much partnering, it's really advantageous to have a female and a male in the room, because as we're demonstrating, everybody knows who to look at. When you only have one choreographer, especially for something like this, there's so much partnering. Everything gets done twice as fast because we multitask and go running around the room like crazy and get it all taken care of. So.
Well, sad to say, this is my first Sondheim show I've ever done. And so I was kind of looking at my watch like, it's time. And I'm just thrilled that this fell into my lap because it is such a beautiful piece. And I had no idea just how beautiful it was until I got in here. And my character, I play a character who is very innocent and very young and enthusiastic. So it takes a lot of energy, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh, God, it's so romantic. The fact that the whole show is in waltz time, or 3/4 and 6/8, lifts it to a different level that our modern ears, I don't think, are used to hearing, and it automatically puts you in this romantic state of mind. And of course, it's all idealized. Who knows what life was really like then? But it lifts you up in the white skirts, and you feel like you're in another time.
Well, I was born in the wrong time. Anyway, I love all that period stuff, and I have some beautiful costumes, and we hope we can get in and out of them fast enough and so forth, all those things. It's beautiful. I think beauty is something that we're losing now. We have a lot of pizzazz, but not so much beauty, and this is so beautiful, the music. And the feeling of it, the loss and the regret and the sadness and the roux and the silliness and the farcical, that's why it's such a good show, because it has all of that in it. It's not just...
Well, I thought about it for about 35 years, let's put it that way. I've been working on it a long time. And when Hal first cast the show, he thought I was too old to play Charlotte. Now, I was quite young at that time, because it was during the Follies era, And so I said, well, I guess I'll just work on the old broad. And so I kept working on it. And finally, I'm almost the same age Hermione was when she did it on Broadway, you see. Yeah.
And what do you love about this role? This is such a beautifully written show. Talk about the role and talk about this wonderful score, especially the song you get to sing.
Well, of course, I love that. It's the most wonderful role I think I've ever played, ever. And what she has to do is so choice. She's spotted. It's kind of magic how she kind of shows up and does a few things, and then is off. But I get to listen to a lot of pretty swell stuff, and this company is wonderful, just glorious, thrilling, and staging is wonderful. They're magic. These choreographers are magic. Really wonderful. Yeah, it's a great joy. And I have a beautiful granddaughter, and I have a gorgeous daughter, of course, Miss Penny Fuller.
We are so fortunate. When we actually meet the actors the first time, Jack and I, we tell them there's a target in the basement. But recently, we have been rewarded with a Nordstrom rack on the second floor right below us. Now, that doesn't mean we can run down and get a costume, but there's wonderful shopping, and it's very easy to get to us. You get on the Metro North. It's one stop to White Plains if you're on the Express. It's actually 35 minutes. Very easy, very inexpensive, and we're actually 4 city-long blocks to the theater. We're in a mall. We have gorgeous restaurants downstairs, Richie. We have legal seafood, Asian Temptation. We have a BLT steak across the street. Our opening night party is going to be with our sponsor at the Melting Pot. They're putting together a beautiful spread for us. So it is really a small New York just outside, but come to the country and come see us because it's really easy to get to the White Plains Performing Arts Center. And I wonder if we're the closest regional theater to New York City, where we're doing top-notch work. And we really hope people come from New York, come and experience what we're doing. We're working really hard to give them good quality entertainment.
Bring up the curtain, la, la, la. Bring down the curtain, la, la, la. Bring up the curtain, la, la, la. Hi-ho, hi-ho. For the glamorous light.
Some of Hollywood's biggest stars are coming to Broadway this season, including Academy Award winners Geoffrey Rush and Susan Sarandon, who along with Lauren Ambrose and Tony Award winner Andrea Martin are getting ready to star in director Neil Armfield's new production of Eugene Ionesco's comedy Exit the King, which will open at the Ethel Barrymore Theater on March 26th. We stopped by for a chat during a break in rehearsal.
I was aware of the play maybe about 10 or 15 years ago. Alec Guinness had played the King in the first English language production at the Royal Court in London in the early 60s. And I'd read very little about that. He doesn't actually talk about it that much, I don't think, in his wonderful diaries that he wrote. But I always knew that he was a picker of very good parts. So when I read the play, I thought, wow, this is really interesting. Why has it got forgotten? Why has it got buried? Because it is a sort of mock classical piece that's got all the trappings of, you know, the kind of mad, absurdist Ionesco angle on this is a play about royalty and the state of the nation, but it's also got this ramshackle, domestic kind of idiot kind of quality to it. You know, it's written for clowns to play out very hefty themes about the death of the king, and they somehow managed to do it as a burlesque. Do you know what I mean? So it's throwing stuff at the audience that will really engage their minds and challenge them with surprises as to where is this bit of theatre going. And then out of nowhere it suddenly takes your breath away and you think, wow, this is actually about serious themes of existentialism. You know what I mean? Wrapped up as an entertainment.
These characters, like, we were just astounded. We did a couple of readings of it, and knew the play had a lot of juice, a lot of play in it. And but when we got to start translating it, you know, so much just came to life, and we kept on. And it's actually a wonderful way to work because we know what each other's potential is. You know, we carry a great sense of what the kind of theatre that Geoffrey's going to bloom in. And so, wow, we said, it says here the king starts marching. And what does that mean for a great clown? Like, for, you know, a man with a nurse there trying to get him to sit in a wheelchair, and a brass band starts playing, and he's sort of up and marching. He's surrounded by his older wife, who is trying to get him to sit in a wheelchair and to accept the fact that he's got to die. He's surrounded by his young wife, who is just beaming with love and joy and wanting him to live forever. And you know, there's a cynical doctor, and there's a maid, and an old guard who just, you know, anything the king says is fine. And so it gives him a wonderful kind of court in which to play the whole spectrum of sort of human attitudes and human comedy.
One, we never get to see Ionesco, and it's a masterpiece. Two, when wouldn't this be a good time? It's about someone having to deal with his demise. We all have to deal with it. And at the same time, every day you figure, all right, I better make the best of this because the clock's ticking, especially somebody my age. So I think it's kind of a philosophical cartoon, actually, in that way. You know, it's an apprenticeship of death and an affirmation of life, and it's everything that we experience daily. Who wants to really be weighed down by the fact we're going to die? So we do anything we can to not have to look at it. And you know, great comedy comes out of the desperation of the need not to look at our own mortality. So So I think any time would be a good time. And how lucky are we to have this production? Really, I mean this sincerely. This isn't just an actor trying to promote a show. I mean this from the depth of my heart. How lucky we are to see a man of his brilliance, Geoffrey Rush, directed by a man who's worked in the theater for 25 years in Australia, renowned, to come to Broadway. Really, it's a treat for all audiences to see this kind of acting.
Well, I'm definitely out of my comfort zone. So every day I have to remind myself that the lesson of this play is that, to leave your ego behind and just jump in and make a fool out of myself. And so at the end of the day, when I'm feeling like a disaster, one of my friends says, no, don't, just go back tomorrow, make a fool out of yourself. So it's been challenging, but, the director's really funny and relaxed. And Geoffrey, of course, is just all over the place. But it's a different style. It's a character that's very withholding as opposed to being the one whose mission is really clear, and so it's kind of the antithesis of a lot of the parts that I've played, and so, which is of course intellectually why I wanted to do it in the first place. But then of course once you're actually doing it, it's much more challenging than when you and also when the first day I saw that ad, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? My name above the title, I was like, oh no, what was I thinking? So we're barging ahead, but it's very, very physical, and all kinds of things happen. So it's a complicated and fun rehearsal process because there's a lot of clowning going on with Geoffrey and musical stuff and things flying all over. It's kind of like semi-involvement in the Cirque du Soleil with a little bit more talking kind of at the moment.
How well did you know the play before you started this?
I didn't know it, and I've been offered and would be quite comfortable with Tennessee Williams. I've been offered a lot of parts that for me in my mind, I kept seeing, I remember Katharine Hepburn in that, or Elizabeth Taylor, or whatever, and I just, all the plays that I've done have been new plays. So when seeing revival somehow for me just felt kind of wonderful but very nostalgic. Even though this play is a revival, I hadn't seen it done before, so it was really great to hear it fresh for the first time. And when I read it on an airplane, I was moved by it and stumped. And I thought, wow, this is really unlike anything I've ever seen. So I'm glad that I hadn't seen productions. I didn't have any idea in my head already existing of what it was like, or someone else's performance, I kept seeing Geoffrey because he wrote me a letter and kind of talked to me a little bit about it. But it's just completely... And I ran into one of the producers recently and said, we were so surprised when you said yes. I said, I was so surprised when I said yes. And now here we are. So I guess it was just time. My kids are older. They now, instead of needing me so much on the weekend, they don't want to see me on the weekend. So I felt it was okay to miss Little League. I wasn't, I was so greedy about my weekends before that the theater I did was usually in rep, so I could be off on the weekends. So now it's time to, I can actually embrace what I remember about Broadway, which is a completely different lifestyle than, getting up at 6:30 to get your kid lunch to take to school. So I'm in a different place, and it's really shaken me into a different place, and I'm happy about that.
Emmy Award winners Judy Gold and Carson Kressley recently co-hosted the one-night-only Defying Inequality, the Broadway concert, a celebrity benefit for equal rights. It was sponsored by the producers of Wicked and held at their home, the Gershwin Theater. The evening, which featured everyone from Jane Fonda to Cyndi Lauper, benefited the Empire State Pride Agenda, Equality California, Family Equality Council, Garden State Equality, and the Vermont Freedom to Marry, 5 charitable organizations working to promote equality and protect civil rights for the gay and lesbian community.
I can see America's calling me. Yes, gay marriages will save the economy. Save the economy.
I do think it's a matter of communication and talking to one another about this topic and not avoiding it. And also coming out. I think, Milk was such an incredible movie, and one of the messages was come out, tell everyone that you're gay, let everyone know that they know and love a gay person. And once everyone realizes, hey, my cousin, my brother, my neighbor, my babysitter, they will change their mind when they go into that voting booth. So, Carson, we were talking about, and backstage we were talking about Prop 8.
Right.
And how often, and I have to tell you guys, I protested at the rally in front of the Mormon church with my kids.
Good for you.
Yes.
Did you see Donnie and Marie?
I didn't see Donnie, but my son had the best sign.
Okay.
It said, "My 2 moms can beat up your 14 wives."
I like it. Thank you. It's insane that just because you happen to be straight, and if you're of age, you can just get married, no questions asked. And you could be in a committed, loving relationship with somebody for 50 years, and there's some old, antiquated rule that says you can't do it. And when people bring up the whole, it's morally wrong, it's biblically wrong, I'm like, hello, it's not about the Bible, which I love, it's about the Constitution. And I think it starts out with, we're all created equal. Or is that the Declaration of Independence? No, it's the Constitution. We're all created equal. And I think, we got to remember that and just keep fighting and keep believing, and eventually, the right thing will happen.
Dear President Obama, while fighting for the abolition of slavery, one politician qualified his stance. I've never been in favor of making voters of jurors of Negroes, nor of qualifying them to hold office, nor to intermarry with white people. That politician was Abraham Lincoln. Obviously, time and experience brought Mr. Lincoln to what would have been called the extremist view, that freedom cannot be compromised just to appease the majority. And so he made a grander gesture reminding us of a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Passing a law would change the course of slavery, but those words changed history. Mr. Obama, I've heard you speak eloquently in favor of inclusion of gays and lesbians, but then you sternly state your opposition to marriage rights. It leaves me wondering if you are straining to be polite or politic, or if, like Lincoln, your views still need maturing.
We start to look at one another short of breath, walking proudly in our winter coats, wearing smells from laboratories, facing a dying nation, a moving paper fantasy, listening for the neutron lights, with supreme visions of lonely tunes, singing our space songs on a spider web sitar. Life is around you and in you. Answer for Timothy's weary, deary. Let the sun shine. Let the sun shine in. The sun shine in.
Well, it's so much more than just forwarding emails and starting conversations. It's also writing to your representatives, and we're going to have to get a little rowdy, I think, to really get this point across. I mean, everyone saw Milk, and everyone saw Sean Penn win the Oscar last night, and everyone saw the movie win the Oscar for Best Screenplay. But that is a period piece. That movie is a period piece. That was a long time ago, and we haven't come much further since then. And they got rowdy then. We're going to have to get rowdy now. And tonight was the beginning of something. Tonight was certainly the beginning.
Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better. And because I knew you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. Well, I mean, for various reasons, we were all very committed after the passage of Proposition 8. We all sort of individually got very angry and then said, well, we have to try and do something. And what we've been hoping to do, and I think it's starting to work, is by getting out front on it and doing these benefits and standing up, then other people are saying, well, now, wait a minute, we want to be part of this too. We want to fight this fight too. And that's what we were hoping for. So it's been really encouraging.
What has always amazed me is the theater community, for anything, is always on the forefront, always have been and always will be.
Well, I think particularly for issues like this, for civil rights issues, absolutely. You know, because the theater community tends to be more inclusive and more accepting of different people and you know, different. We were in the forefront of the civil rights movement, the African American civil rights movement, you know, the women's movement. You know, but eventually the rest of the country catches up. So I think that will happen here too.
Now, you wrote the number tonight that closed out the show, The Dream. Tell me about that.
It's a song that I wrote just a couple years ago, and something that's very near and dear to me. And Anthony Galdi, the producer, happened to hear the song when we were in a meeting, and he said, I'll be back with you. And he left for a few minutes, and he came back, and he said, we want to use the song. I'm like, great. And a few days later, he called and said, we want to close the show. And I was so honored and deeply humbled and so happy to be a part of this.
Where love's the only power, and all mankind was free.
Well, that is the way that it should be. Oh, yes.
Yes, that is the way that it should be. Oh, yeah. Yes, that is the way that it will be. This is my dream.